You're welcome back to the program. As part of the advocacy to addressing the root causes of violence against women, ActionAid Ghana, a non-governmental organization, is collaborating with other civil society organizations to hold a vigil in honor of 90-year-old Akua Denteh in the Savannah region 2 years ago. The vigil, which is currently ongoing, is meant to drum home the need for more action to end the canker as soon as possible. Akua Denteh was lynched on July 23, 2020 at Kafraba after a traditional priestess pronounced her as a witch following the trial by ordeal. Now, my colleague Obed Gaglo is at the vigil and joins us live to update us on what is happening over there this evening. Now, good evening, Obed. If you can hear me, what is happening there currently? Hello, Obed, can you hear me? All right, so we will be keeping tabs on this particular footage to get close to Obed to update us on this particular issue, as the non-governmental organization has come together to actually bring an end on this particular incident that happened in 2020 where Denteh was murdered by a priestess. Now, Obed has joined us again on live. And Obed, if you can hear me, what is happening at Shiashi currently?
Hello?
Hello, Obed, can you hear me? Hello, Obed, can you hear me? Can you tell us what is happening there at Shiashi? All right, so we will reconnect our lines to get to Obed. Looks like he is finding it difficult, I beg your pardon, to hear us. And what I am talking about is Akua Denteh was murdered in 2020, and an advocacy group is actually having a vigil tonight to honor him. Now, Obed, if you can hear me, can you tell us what is happening?
And this situation elicited some hysteria and public outcry. Now, ActionAid, together with some youth activists, is organizing a vigil in commemoration of this dastardly act. I currently have with me the PRO for ActionAid, who will speak to us about the issue. So, Madam, you know what? You are welcome and you are live on GhOne TV.
Hi.
Now, tell us why this vigil.
Okay, so today actually marks 2 years since the lynching of Madam Akua Denteh. And for us at ActionAid, we are a women's-led organization. We are basically fighting for the root causes for violence against women. And all these years, since 2005, we have been working in the northern region, basically in the alleged witches' camp, to enlighten these women who have been condemned to these witch camps that serves basically like prisons. And so tonight we are commemorating her memory and also sending a signal to the nation that we need to fight as a country basically to uphold the 1992 Constitution. The Constitution provides protection for every single individual in the country. But why do we have a certain group of people who are constantly accused of witchcraft, who are constantly being violence being perpetuated against them? We believe that there are a group of people who are pushing patriarchy, and there are also a group of people who basically don't want to see women flourish. In this 21st century, we believe that it is time for us to stop violence against women. We need to stop accusing women who are old. If you go to these communities, these women are actually old. They live in poverty, abject poverty. And then you expect that this is the time that as a nation we provide some level of support, some level of livelihood support to them. But rather, this is the time that we are pushing them or pitting them into pieces when they're supposed to be growing old in peace.
Now, beyond this vigil, what practically can be done to abolish the issue of witch camps?
I think one of our key calls to the government is for us to look at ways to criminalize the accusation of witchcraft. If you look at the practice, you realize that the whole accusation, the whole violence begins when an individual is accused. And this means that we need to criminalize the practice, and that's the only way we can stop the violence being perpetuated against women. And so one of the key issues that we are calling on the government and all stakeholders, not just the government, there are key individuals in this country, there are human rights organizations. We believe that we need to join forces, we need to put ourselves together, and we need to have one voice and call on every every single individual within the northern part of the country, and not just the northern part of the country. Witchcraft accusation is not a tradition. The Constitution prohibits that. The Constitution prohibits individuals being rights being violated. And so, as individuals who believe that the rights of women needs to be upheld, we are here today, and we believe that our call will get to the needed attention.
All right, now, so before I continue, let me take you through some of the messages they are trying to drum home. Now, here you can see, stop branding women as witches. Another one reads, no more lynching. Another one also reads, condemn witch hunters. I have here with me some youth activists who are championing the cause to condemn the practice of witchcraft and witch camps. I want to have an engagement with Chris here about what he thinks can be done practically to stop the dastardly act of witchcraft. Now, what do you think can be done practically to stop witchcraft and witch camps in the country?
Okay. In my respective view, I think we have to intensify the education of human rights in our various institutions, especially from the very basic of our institution, educating them on the fundamental human rights as elaborated in the document contained in the United Nations Right Book. Yeah.
Right. Now, as a young person, are you worried that in this 21st century, some young people still believe that there is witchcraft? Are you worried?
I'm highly worried, and even to that effect, if there is, according to the UN document, we all have the right to life. So fundamentally, either a person is a witch or not, the person deserves to live, and therefore you don't have any right to lynch the person to death. So that is our message to the government, to make sure that the laws are enacted and the policies are well enacted to stop the lynching. No matter where the person is coming from, the background, the ethnic background, the person have the right to live, deserve to live, irrespective of the person's background.
All right, thank you. So as you heard from these youth activists, basically the vigil is to drum home the conversation surrounding the issue of witchcraft and witch camps.
All right, so that is Obed Gaglo, and these are live visuals coming to you from Shiashi, as ActionAid is actually having a vigil to drum home the needs for witches or suspected witches to be, brutalized. They are actually having this particular vigil to ensure that the action is brought to a swift end. Now, still remaining on that particular story, a section of Ghanaians have joined calls to criminalize the hunt for perceived witches and the establishment of witch camps in the country, especially in the north. Speaking to the news team on the subject of witch camps, these Ghanaians believe the phenomenon of witch camps in the country is outmoded and an infringement on the fundamental human rights of the accused.
Bet obre do dana obewu kra na obre asa na obewu aban bo modina onfa ne nan ensi ho se saade no ogu e wo Ghana kromu ha omu ye saade no na government tia oni omu ndipa sa camp no ne pa kron so oye sa camp no se onjaye friend na etunefu no onjaye na se omu ye saade na aban ene ne ndipa
asafo omu ye sa no omu fi nyame because se o fi nyame pa ube de sesa wo ye no se empaibo na ehia wo hu se ne be ya ye be bon se sa ne ne pa ne poti a se e bon pa ye ma no na sa de no etumi fi ne so ne se ube ya no yakayaka de ube chi no kom ube bunu banu niema ense ese obua nipa ne bo no office ade na owo mu ni mu
to me no be ye bia ni ho hwe mamifo hwe bra mamifo bre mimi ti o me ye mother. I'm also a mother na ye bia obre we na echi na dati osofo bi be ba be kai baba ba shai baba me ye be ye na me bani so mo please na ye de me akoyesa be ye campaign de enu pa de se Ghana for ye ngina mu pa na sade no entwa so because enye.
Those were some opinions there by some people who want the canker to be stopped. Now, my colleague in the northern region, Noah Nash, has been following the trial of persons arrested in connection with the lynching of Akua Denteh, and he joins us with the latest on it. Good evening. Can you hear me?
Now, my colleague in the northern region, Noah Nash.
Hello. Good evening, Noah Nash.
Good evening.
How has the trial of the persons who have been arrested going on?
Come again.
How has the trial of the persons who have been arrested going?
Honestly speaking, when it comes to the trial, one of the difficulties has to do with the court proceedings that are actually taking place. That is quite difficult for a lot of people to really understand, because when you go to the court, one of the things that happens is that the lawyers are asking that they want to call witnesses, and then the cross-examination of witnesses is taking so long. That's one of the issues. And we've also noticed that despite the fact that both lawyers from each side are doing their best in terms of the state prosecutor and the other people are doing their work, you realize that it's a bit slow. And where we have gotten to was at the stage where the woman, who happens to be one of them that was a suspect, who was arrested, apparently is claimed to be a pregnant woman. That lady actually delivered, and so in the process it has slowed down the process to court proceedings. But the larger good of it is that despite it takes 3 months for the proceedings to appear in court for us to listen to, I can tell you for a fact that everything is going on well, but it's just that it's slow, and one cannot say that it's going to take us a quicker, we are not going to get a quicker solution now, because the court wants to be sure that they are able to get all the 7 accused persons to actually face the actual charges that they've been preferred to, because 2 of them were preferred with the charges of murder, and the others were conspiracy. So if you look at it from that angle, it means that they have to prove beyond reasonable doubt in that quest. So that is what the state at which we find ourselves now.
Can you tell us about the state of some witch camps in the north, and if they are still in operational?
We still have close to about 5 witches camps in the northern region. One is Gambaga. If you recall very well, our first lady has been very supportive of that camp. We have the Kuku alleged witches camp, which is in Bimbila side, which is Nanumba district. We have the Patinga witches camp, which is also in Gushegu. We have the Ngani alleged witches camp, which is also very operational. All these 4 witches camps that I've just mentioned to you are very active. They are active in the sense that though we haven't had frequent reports of persons being accused and sent to those places, but the reality on the ground is that those witches camps still exist. Their major challenge has to do with feeding, especially if ActionAid do not send food to them, and it's okay wanting to surprise those women. It means that those women will starve. Farming activities by these old women, if you look at their age, for instance, you realize that they can't farm about even an acre. So there's also a challenge there. So to feed themselves naturally, even with the help of the Tindana, who has given them a vast land to do whatever they want to do in terms of cultivating their own crops, it's still difficult for them, because if you look at their age, it's not possible. We've had close to about 10 of them in different, or in 4 of these camps, who are bedridden. They cannot move, their mobility is curtailed, because at the stage where they've gotten to now, they are sick, and there is a challenge with whatever medication they have to go to. So most of them are still in bed. They hardly come out. They are fed by some few family members who visit them. So the state as it stands now is still not the best. It's still deplorable. Women are still struggling in those camps.
All right, thank you very much. Noah Nash is our Northern Regional Correspondent, and Big Fix ends here.